Good afternoon. I'm really happy to have this conversation with you. But then let's start with telling the viewers out there your name and generally things about you.
My name is Norbert Ajaegbu. Well, I'm a filmmaker basically, and my first course of study was accounting. Then I later ventured into law, and then I obtained my postgraduate degree in law, and I tried to do a combination of practice of law and filmmaking. Generally, you would call me an entertainment lawyer.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Mhm.
Accounting,
Basically, that was my first degree
first
course.
degree in
Yeah.
accounting, and then was it after you studied accounting that you ventured into the
So
movie
yes, immediately,
industry?
immediately while I was studying accounting was when I ventured into the movie
Movie
industry.
industry,
So when I graduated, I came in fully into the movie industry.
industry.
Then eventually came up with the idea of going back to school, University of Lagos to study law.
Okay, so what prompted you to study law?
Well, there are a lot of things to consider, but my primary consideration then was my retirement, being into private practice, film practice. I ask myself a few questions at old age. Well, if when I can't stand up, stand the rigors of location, what will I do? I thought of it and I said, basically, if I can have something by the side that when God so willing I get old, I can walk into the courtroom with maybe my rugged wigs and then be able to, or sit in my office to do drafts and, see and without depending on anyone. So it was just more of a way of providing for my future. Then I also realized at that point in time that a lot of things were going wrong in the entertainment industry. So I felt the knowledge of law would be very useful in
Hmm.
most of the things I embarked on, and it actually came true at the long run.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Mm.
That so, have you found your law degree and knowledge useful in your business in the entertainment industry?
Very much. I would say, as a thanks today, I've been able to not just help myself, but to help others, help the industry at large with that knowledge of law. It really has contributed a whole lot. I can mention a few.
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
was going to ask.
okay, I was basically instrumental in the ministerial committee that amended the Mopicon document. I was also, or maybe instrumental in the draft of the constitution of many guilds and associations in Nollywood. And as it stands today, I've not stopped. I'm pushing forward to give the entertainment industry in Nigeria an enduring structure. Lego, when I mean structure, Lego structure, a framework that will regulate, that will be like an umpire to the entire industry, because that's absolutely what we lack.
Hmm.
I've been facing certain challenges, people writing up and down, those with long legs going to government to dissuade them. But I know someday we will come triumphant, and then there will be an enduring structure in the industry. So,
Industry. So, when you talk about structure in the industry, um, I mean, there are associations. I mean, there, again, the industry is thriving.
mm,
So, to in an outsider,
mm.
they might not be able to probably see that. So, again, can you give us an example?
Well, the associations are highly proliferated.
Yeah.
You find us having maybe more than five, six producers association, directors guild, more than three, four, and because there's no regulation. That's one. Then, secondly, when I say them, we are not largely structured. The guilds are more like toothless bulldog. When you find the guild itself not being able to discipline their members, why? Because they lack the force of law. So what I'm actually driving for is that kind of structure, that kind of legal backing, statutory backing that will give them the potency that they desire to discipline members. Take for instance, a member of Screenwriters Guild might write a particular script story, give it to you, duplicate the same script, exactly the same script, sell it to me, and there's nobody, nothing there to discipline him other than the entire rigors of going to court, which might not end up in 25 years if the lawyer decides to be tactical. So, and then if the guild itself, Screenwriters Guild, decides to say, okay, you're not going to be our member, the man will run to CAC and register another guild, and nothing will happen. So that's exactly what I'm saying. So there are things we want to stop. Let there be a code, a codification, that's a singular code that will regulate practice, just like we have with the legal practitioners, just like we have with medical practitioners association, just like we have with the advert practitioners agents in Nigeria. So let there be a statutory code, rules codified in a statute that will be able to regulate practice. That will say, look, as a practitioner, you cannot do this. If you do this, this will be the punishment. As a practitioner, you are entitled to have a license. When you do this, we withdraw your license. Are you getting? Or
Yeah,
we suspend your license.
I
So
think that
that's
makes a lot
exactly
of, it
what
will bring a lot of sanity.
that's exactly what we are driving towards
Yeah,
when we talk about
because the
regulation.
example you just gave now, it's I mean, it's frightening.
Mm.
Someone duplicating what writing
Mm.
for you and then giving the same thing to another person, and there is no organization
No,
within
no
at least
umpire.
structure that would make, you know, an umpire that will make that. And then so when there is no law, I mean, there's no sin.
That is
And I
it.
think that's really. Would that be responsible for the proliferation of skits? Because the skit making business, I mean, it's thriving in Nigeria and it's really growing. But then there's some that you just feel that it's someone who just wakes up at home one day, just wants to put something there, and without any.
Well,
Um,
I wouldn't blame that on skit making. Maybe partly yes, but there would have ordinarily been an existing statute that would have checkmated the proliferation of skits. I'll blame that one, the proliferation, on partly on government agencies, and then I'll also blame that partly on, would I say, maybe the new media. The advent of internet had made it in such a way that people can sit in the comfort of their homes, in the confines of their toilet, and post anything they want to post.
yeah.
And nobody goes there except you begin to petition Google to bring it down, YouTube to bring it down. But on the part of government, there's an existing regulation called Film and Video Censors Board, which
But
is an equivalent of classification board elsewhere in some other places. So if they had been classifying those skills, billing them to for censorship just the way they do to other movies that go to the theater, and the rest of them, I'm sure people won't be having that. You won't be having that number, but I think they really have not lived up to that responsibility as it stands yesterday. I don't know what will happen today, but I can tell you the conversation we had with the DG last week. He had the new DG who had just been 1 month old in the office. He had assured us that he's working on it, negotiating with Google and doing something to see how they can classify those movies. Classification obviously will reduce and then will remove undesirable ones
yeah.
from being processed. So that's it.
But don't you think that would be a little bit challenging too? I mean, given like you rightly said, someone could stay in the confines of their room and then post something. So how do you? Anyway, I
It
don't
is the
know.
way power to enforce. Like I told him on that conversation, I said, look, you must be ready to enforce. There must be enforcement. And what do I mean by enforcement? First, you must have to agree with YouTube, maybe by way of an MOU, that whoever is bringing movies for upload must bring certification, from the board. Any Nigerian content producer who is bringing this must be part of the requirements. If you agree that with them, then it becomes easy for you. Then they on their part will have to outgrow the manual censorship where people will come and sit in the office and people will bring the DVD and they have to go online, create an online platform there where they will even monitor, because the only way you monitor, you will know what is going on and what is going wrong. So I'm sure he said he's working on all of that. So I'm hopeful. We are hopeful and we are looking up to him.
Yeah, but are you not afraid that that might lead to they could become overbearing and then, you know, it could lead to undue censorship where contents that they don't like, they can just decide to censor it.
Well, there's nothing that can be. He who is down fears no fall. Nothing can be worse than not having regulation at all. When they cross their boundaries, when they go beyond their bounds, we will also be there to say no. This is not what it should be, and we've always had it out with them all along. So I'm sure it will be better that these things are regulated The government, the unfortunately, the man, or fortunately, the man there has been one of us. He has been a reporter in the industry with Guardian for a long time. He knows this industry. He knows us the much we know him. So I'm sure he understands the industry better and will be able to do a good work
That's
if
cool.
he wants to do it. Yes.
That's cool. Now, let's go back to your, again, I was wondering, you started the, ventured into the film industry, the movie, the entertainment industry, generally speaking, while
In
you were a
school.
student in school. How did you train? Any formal training? Or what brought you? Was it a coincidence? Or you were just adventurous?
Yes, originally there was no formal training. I think my first venture was in 1996 when I came up for my industrial attachment in Lagos here. So I had a couple of offers, but having met, I will give the credit to Emeka Ogunze,
Mm.
having met him in Bako Yaba, then he ordered Okobo and a few others, but he was him principally who caught interest in me and gave me the first script to go and write. Unfortunately, when I wrote the script and brought it, because I hadn't had no formal training, he was complaining about too much grammar, that the grammar was more that I should try to reduce it to something they too can catch up with. So after that, after doing that script for him, I really don't think he was able to produce it. So he took me to Takwabe, where they were shooting a Taboo Part 2. It was my first physical kind of involvement, though I wasn't paid anything, but physical kind of involvement in filmmaking
On
from
location.
on location.
Yeah.
So that caught my interest, and then I started working on my very first movie, which was a gift from above. It was a biopsy on Blessed Father Tanks, UNA Tanks, after his beatification. I started to work on his story on my own. So that was actually my first venture. So I would say the formal training eventually came through Doshewele. There was the time they came into this industry. I think that was basically the first time we as screenwriters had formal training. So they came to us. We didn't go to them. They came to us here, used what's the name of this Victor Kai's first film school. That was where they used. But they couldn't take much students, so they handpicked. I think we were just the first set was 14, the second set about same 14, about 28 of us were trained. That was
Yeah.
the first time we had formal training.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you really, I mean, interestingly enough, I trained with them.
Oh, good.
Actually, the idea of it used to be that, they would invite students to Germany. I was invited to Germany, where I trained as a script writer, as a children television production and director. And I remember it was later, Dr. Bierwenger was their boss then. I remember it was, later, I think Ulikola was one of the cameraman, the cinematographer,
Okay.
talking to me about
Okay.
the structure being changed to the one that rather than bring students to Germany,
Okay.
they would now come
Come to the place.
they go to Kenya, they go to Ghana,
Okay.
they come to Nigeria, they come and train.
Oh,
That they thought it was better that way. So I know they're very good. I
okay.
mean, that was the experience.
Yeah, it was nice. They were in our case. It was them or the judge who
Yeah.
actually was the facilitator.
So, yeah.
That was the second one, but I really can't remember his name again. Second, I think a German.
Yeah.
But Demod, I remember Demod so well.
Yeah.
The Irish
Yeah. So you were trained as you trained as a script
a
writer.
script writer. Basically, that
but
was where I started.
you started,
From.
but you function mainly as a producer,
I
right?
eventually joined
The
production.
production. So tell me about that experience. Why the shift?
Well, I would say in the writing industry originally in Nigeria, it was not in any way lucrative. Not in any way lucrative. Those days, the script writers go hungry. In fact, there's basically nobody who was living on script writing alone because we can't even sustain you for anything. The fees were so poor as 20, 30. Even when you try to hike it to 50, 80, friends would still come and say, "You be my person and write for me." So it was more like you know, not how would I say it? It's not more like a full job for anybody in the industry then. So that was when most of us ventured into production. So and if you even manage to write your own story, like when I said "Gift from Above," I wrote and I produced it. When I also did the other one, Trouble in Paradise, I wrote and produced. Then before they hear my cry, which was more like the one that became very
Successful.
successful. Yes, before
So
the rest.
any encounter with pirates? Because then pirates used to strike.
Well,
Then how did you get funding?
okay. My first funding actually came from a sponsor. I'll give the credit to the man. I don't know where he might be now. Ichie Matters. He has other businesses he does, but he was somewhere around 501 Ajaegbu Road. So he was the one who sponsored the gift from above. Then the Trouble in Paradise, I was able to put together the money I realized from the first project and then borrowed some from my cousin Joe. And added I was able to produce. Then after that, I began to fund my movies because I had enough resources then to fund. Give from Hear My Cry, I funded 100%, and then the rest. I think it was the Mama Africa because it was the bigger project that I had to look for a partner who also contributed fund, a cousin as well, you know. So that was how we started. That was how our personally I started sourcing my funds. But getting into production
Yeah.
um, was a decision I made, and then originally as an independent producer, I did my first two movies as an independent. But then the guilds would always compel you to
To
join
join
them.
them.
I was practically forced to join the Association of Movie Producers. I think that was around, if I may remember, maybe 2002 or thereabouts, or 2001. So they practically came to my audition, disrupted it, and compelled me to come to their meeting and register. So that was how I joined the Association of Movie Producers, you know. So, and then what was the other question? The last question about production, I think if I may remember.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking about production. Okay,
Mm.
so so what kind of challenges do you
Okay,
face?
the issue of piracy.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that was what got me chuckling.
yeah.
The piracy issue. Why I laughed was that I've been at the full front of fighting piracy. When you talk about industry, if you're talking about people who actually stood out
Hmm.
to fight piracy, was my very self and Gabokoye Gaboski. Yeah, there were other guilds, the AVP Man as an association, yes. The Yoruba Film Video Producers and Marketers Association, yes. But at the point, they became so deadly that people were really scared
Hmm.
to enter Alaba. And they had some collaborations with the police. I have to say boldly. When I mean police at that
And
level.
that,
But it took the gut of Gabosi and myself to get to Abuja, meet the Inspector General of Police through the help of the Minister of Information, and we were able to set up a task force.
hmm.
We began to fight and get into Alaba, raid that market that they said nobody goes into, arrest them. Sometimes we go outside the law, taking them to Abuja, having them detained in Abuja, bringing them back to Lagos again before we force police to tie them to court and so on and so forth. Yes, we had to do all that. We knew we weren't supposed to do it, but it was things we did to protect the entertainment industry. And also, when we realized that the criminal enforcement of copyright in Nigeria was almost at the zero level, the Nigerian Copyright Commission was practically not having that will. Initially, we thought it was funding, so we liaised with the association to provide them fund then. But we also realized that they were scared. They said they once set their vehicle or something ablaze in
Ablaze.
Alaba.
Oh my
So
God.
the last time we wanted to go on a raid, they were some 500 meters away from where we were going. They refused to progress to
Wow.
go forward. So we realized it's something we can never do with them again. But I will give also credit to Adedayo Thomas as the DG of Census Board. When he became the DG too, he joined us. We decided not to call them pirated films anymore. We call them uncensored because most of them were actually not censored. Some
Sense.
were foreign films. So we call them uncensored films, warranted, undesirable, and so on. We gave them some names under their own statute and use the National Film and Video Censors Board because Adedayo was not scared of anything. So he demonstrated that zeal. So we worked with him and we were able to do a number of raids until physical distribution died.
I mean, it must have been war because this thing you were saying is not. It doesn't appear as if it was easy.
It was not in any ways. It was not in any ways. It was some risky. Sometimes we'll move into that place at night before they will come in the morning. we raided the shop because we had our insiders there who would go on pinpoint those dealers. Tell us sometimes we employ riders, Okada riders, who would trail them to their homes. If we feel we can't get them in their shop, we'll go to their house at night and pick them up. So their houses at night. So we did all of that, and most of them were really rich. So they've already made so much money from
Money.
piracy. They bring in 40 feet container from China, pirated products and so on. So that they were actually one. I remember one. I can't even remember his name. Owned a hospital even in his area, somewhere around Ojojo. So they were actually big too, but governments can always surpass any individual.
Yes, with the will and
Yeah,
the
with the
right
will of the
support.
day. Then
Yeah.
DIG, if I can remember his name, Habila.
Hmm.
Habila, yes, he was so useful. Yeah, he was the one who actually supported us so much in that race. The operation, the DIG of police operations, yes, because I remember then, even when police will play their kind of game. He will mandate the commissioner of police to get the DPO to go and get whoever it is, giving them time to bring the police. So it was really good then. We were in charge. We had pictures and videos over them, but we didn't just pull them out. You would have seen them, seen the things we recovered, and it was really good. And it assisted the distributors of physical DVDs those days. So it was really useful. That was how we were able to combat piracy. We were just fighting it.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, it was not able to consume us, and we also did not consume it because it was not piracy that put an end to physical distribution. No, it was not. It was not. It was not piracy that actually ended physical distribution. It was technology that
That's what I wanted to say. That with the
it was not
different
piracy.
types of streaming,
Yes.
that kind of helped the effort you guys make.
In Nigeria,
Yeah.
here it was the brokers
Hmm.
that actually put an end to physical distribution. Everybody started buying decoders from the comfort of your home. You can change channels and watch exactly the same movies that you buy in the open market, and then the quantity of sales per movie, when I mean sales,
Yeah.
physical copies, began to
To drop.
drop, and then to it came to that citation state to zero.
Yeah. But then let's look at it this way again. I mean, even that became helpful in combating piracy the way it used to be known. They didn't have any negative effect on producers too, because you couldn't. Again, I'm just assuming. I don't have the inside knowledge. You couldn't sell a lot of DVD then because these movies are being shown in especially where you have, I mean, these popular streaming channels. And then, I mean, what I had was that Nigerians were being paid pittance, that they were not at least duly rewarded for their effort. So did that lead to any crash in their income?
Of course, that was actually what killed, like I said, what killed physical distribution of movies in Nigeria, the broadcast stations. When they came in, they were actually paying Nigerian filmmakers for a movie, not more than not even up to that. I think it was about $700 or $800 per movie. That was nothing to write home about
No.
because you cannot like foot the cost of producing a movie. Their only source of recovering their making their return on investment is the open distribution, the physical distribution. At that point in time, it was dwindling. It was going down. In fact, if you might even Google it now, you will see my efforts then. I was able to call our colleagues together, spoke to them with the help of Bunch under Conga Coalition of Nollywood Youth and Association. We spoke to them. I convinced significantly about 90% of them on why we should not give our movies to broadcast stations. And if we should do, if we must do, we are open to development. If we must do what they pay, our collective bargain should be something worth what we are losing in the
Losing.
open
Yeah.
market. Most of them agreed. A few of them sabotaged. In fact, when some of the broadcast stations heard about our attempt, because we actually held a press conference, they had to increase what they were paying to $1,000 or a little above that. And some of them picked confidence and were still going. But we had to give out that warning that look, if you continue with this, the movie industry will die, and it will not just die. It must be very open to you. You will give out your distribution. Anybody who is knowledgeable in movies across the world will know that once as an industry you lose your distribution, you've lost your industry. In Nollywood here, we lost our distribution to foreigners. So, but we are hopeful that someday we'll regain it. We are doing what we can do. You know, Nigeria, our resilience. You know, we are doing what we can do to see how we can retrieve and recover the industry back.